Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, September 14th, 2016 Planning Board meeting of the Town of Raymond. The Planning Board does have a quorum. Let's go with a roll call.
Sheila Burke.
Robert O'Neill.
Bruce Sanford.
Bill Priest.
And also with us this evening is Chris Hansen, our code enforcement, and Jim Seymour, our contract planner, and Will Haskin is filling in as, what are you filling in as, contract planner for
Port Harbor.
This is a public proceeding, and unless the board specifically votes to go into executive session, you will have the right to hear everything that is being said and to look at all of the exhibits that are presented. Please notify the chairman if you are unable to hear or to see. The board works from a published agenda and will be considering tonight's items in the following order. We have the minutes from the August 10th meeting. We have the election for chairman and vice chairman, and then a tabled application for Port Harbor Marine, followed by some planner communications. In each instance, the burden is upon the applicant to demonstrate compliance with the provisions of the applicable ordinances. After the board votes on the merits of each project application, it will prepare a written notice of decision, because notice of decision may substantially affect any appeal rights. And also, as a matter of courtesy, the board asks that those attending the meeting with regard to a specific project not leave until the board has completed its discussion on the project. Generally speaking, appeals from adverse decisions must be filed with the appropriate appeals Board of Superior Court as otherwise provided by law within 45 days of this board's decision. All persons speaking, including representatives of the applicant and members of the public, are asked to stand, state their name, address, and affiliation with the project, and to do that from the podium. And all persons speaking shall address the chairman. All right. Our first order of business is consideration of the minutes from August 10th.
I move we accept the minutes from August 10th as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You're opposed?
I'm in favor,
Oh,
no.
you're in favor. And one abstention. 3-0-1. We have no new business this evening. Special agenda item is the election of the, actually, I'm going to skip that for now so we can, you guys have been waiting. Let's do the old business first. Let's do finish up our site plan tabled application.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're up.
Good evening. This is Rob McSorley with Sebago Technics. I'm here representing the applicant, Port Harbor Marine, relative to a lease area that they have worked out with the abutter for winter storage of boats and trailers. This came before the Planning Board last month. We had received some minor comments relative to the plan, and they didn't get back in time, I guess, for the Planning Board to consider. So it was carried over. And also from that meeting, there was a request that we coordinate with Portland Pipeline relative to the project and get some feedback from them on the project. Chris has passed out to you copies of some revisions to the plan that Portland Pipeline has requested. There's a miniature copy in front of you that has highlighted areas that mimic the plan that is up on the board. And if I could go over there and just kind of point out the areas, I guess I got to take this with me?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Okay. We worked out concerns with Portland Pipeline relative to their main that goes through and under the area that we're proposed to park trailers and boats on. And we've come to some conclusions with them, which they have accepted. There was an email that I had forwarded on to Chris and gave him a copy of tonight where they have said that they are fine with the changes we've made. First of all, there's the 18-inch pipeline, not gas line, pipeline, that they have asked us to isolate and not have any trailers or boats stored on top of. We have given them calculations that showed that the load that we'd be putting on driving over it wasn't substantial, so they were okay with that, but they wanted to make sure that that area was clear. That's the highlighted note in the middle here that says we will maintain 15-foot clear over the pipe. Either side of the proposed gravel crushed stone area, there are 2 notes and 3 dots referred to on both sides. The 3 dots on the right-hand side are markers that the gas company is going to install, 1 centered on the pipe and 2 7.5 feet either side. And the dots on this side are survey markers that we're going to put in the pavement on center line and 7.5 feet either side, so that they can go out, stand on a dot, and look and see that that 15 foot area is clear. They've also asked us to change the nomenclature on the plan from a gas line to a pipeline. So there's a couple of denotations here in the legend change for that also. And they also asked us to alter the section over the gas main, that 15 foot, to have at least a 6-inch gravel bed underneath the crushed stone, at least through that 15 foot swath. And we thought that was pretty minor and agreed to it. So those are the changes that they requested. We came to a conclusion that makes everybody happy, and we got a sign off from them.
Would it be possible to hand that copy down so we can all read what the yellow, because I can't read anything on this yellow sheet here.
You open the large plan.
You have a large plan. Yes.
Oh, it is, okay, all right, okay.
And
I want to read what's in these yellow boxes because it's not legible.
yeah, and you can see that we agreed to put in the markers here, the markers here, the 15-foot clear
Just to
there.
delineate the line of the
Yep.
of the pipeline.
And then you turn it over, and we have the one section they requested in reflection of the pipeline and the legend.
And the pipeline's buried at least 3 feet down now, correct?
It is 3 feet through most of this, and it's 2'9", so we're going to adjust the
You're
grade
gonna add some hint to it.
slightly, which actually follows almost what we had graded out. So we're going to make sure we have the 3 feet
Okay.
they want. Other than that, there weren't any other new comments on the plans, and we're more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Will, do you have anything to add?
I mean, we went over most of the things the last meeting.
Yep,
but,
I watched the video,
I
so
don't
I'm
know
up.
if you want me to go through
No.
I mean, we have the shoreland provisions that we went through, and then we also have the site plan review. And
No comments on the grading plan that was turned in late last time, but, okay, yeah.
And we talked a little bit about the stormwater and the stormwater buffer. They're basically leaving a buffer down at on the downstream side, and they're kind of the way they're grading it so it almost acts like a level spreader, so everything basically just sheets off the crushed gravel into that buffer. I think there was some comments from some abutters relative to the buffer. And
Yeah, they were concerned how close we would be to that wetland, and we have that buffer that's shown on the plans.
Right.
And the good thing is, the soils in this area are very sandy. They're very good. That's why this is considered an aquifer underneath. So how much will run off?
I think what you'll find is that with the crushed stone surface, I mean, that water is gonna, it's really not gonna run off the surface. It's gonna go down into the crushed stone and then may drizzle out the bottom edge, but it's not gonna be like a sheet flow off the
Right.
surface, like a paved surface or anything like that.
Well, what is the site classified as? I mean, is it storage? Is it parking? What is it?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't necessarily call it a parking area because it's really a storage. Boat storage area.
Storage air, is it attached to anything? Is it attached to the marina?
The marina.
Yeah. I mean, it's
So
got
it's
an
attached
access
to-
road from the marina drive that goes down.
So it's an extension of the marina?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I was just wondering about the use,
I
the
mean,
authorized use.
is it, I mean, fair to say that it's very similar to the storage area across the
Correct.
street that was
Yeah.
approved.
It's a budding property that's been leased to Port Harbor Marine, and they're just developing it into a boat storage yard
Oh, yeah,
for a lease agreement, yeah.
yeah, but I was just, but we don't have an authorized use in the shoreline zoning for storage area,
But it's marina
as long as it's attached to the
related
marina.
use, and it's connected
Subsidiary
directly
use.
to the marina.
Okay, that,
Just one point
Congratulations.
for record. The record owner of the survey parcel is Tracy F. I'm pretty sure that's Tacy, T-A-C-Y, not
I
Tracy.
believe that's correct. Yeah. Do we have Tracy?
Well,
I'm just,
it's Tacy's, they inherited it from Tacy.
so it is a Tracy.
I don't believe so.
I think it is Tacy, T-A-C-Y.
I think,
We can check that.
Just for the record, if it needs to be corrected, I think it should
did,
be.
did it get changed again? Is it Tracy in the plan?
It says Tracy
Tracy,
in the plan.
and then just one other question, and that's just for my information, does the pipeline, I assume they have a right of way over all of this property? Is that how that is set up?
They have no right of way, they have an easement
An easement.
over the property.
And
No
they-
dedicated land that they own.
Oh, so
just
they
have-
own the land?
They don't own the land.
They don't own the land?
No, they have a right by easement.
But, and that right by easement allows them to determine what is put on top of it?
No, not really.
Okay, I didn't think so.
That was the compromise we worked out. We wanted to be good neighbors and came up with a compromise so that they could say that they were okay with it. Otherwise, we would have taken the position that they have an easement, and they have recourse by that easement if they don't like.
Yeah, that's what I would have thought, okay.
Yeah.
But the changes are not anything that you are, okay,
We're okay with,
you're okay with it?
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
Bob, I had one comment.
Yep.
There was some discussion last meeting about winter maintenance, what if they were gonna plow that area
Mhm.
or punch a hole in it. After talking to the fire chief, they don't need to do anything. They've got plenty of hose to get to it. They can just drive down into the marina and they can access where the boats are if there happen to be a fire. They have no concern.
Good. Are you planning on plowing it?
When-
We may to get boats out, but
Oh, yeah, in the spring,
we'll probably just punch a hole, just like you said.
okay.
One thing,
Yep.
excuse me.
Sure.
Once we agreed not to pile snow up there, so to allow access, so that we won't plow any snow over the end there. Right where the little access is off the marina pavement,
Mm-hmm.
that 20-foot wide, we won't pile up any of the snow during the winter time there,
Oh, I see, okay.
so.
I was actually just more concerned about the plowing would be disrupting the gravel, which would be.
Oh, yeah,
Which would be putting in a stream for the water to flow.
yeah.
Or if you're not gonna plow it. Any other questions? Alright. So it's, instead of going through this, the shoreline zoning provisions blow by blow through all of it, I think the discussion last time pretty much covered what was in here. So I would propose that we just kind of lump it all into our approval, a single approval, or a single vote, whichever. Does that sound all right?
Yep.
Okay, so. Is there a
We need a
motion?
motion.
We need a motion.
I move we accept the amended plan from Port Harbor Marine for the storage facility.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any other discussion? Since I was not at that first meeting, even though I watched the video, I plan on abstaining only because I was not present for the discussion. Is there, sorry? All set?
Yeah.
All right, all those in favor? Opposed? I am going to abstain.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sure.
now we'll go move back to our special agenda item, which is the election of board officers for chairman and vice chairman. Yes, sir. Volunteering?
I'd like to nominate our existing chairman and vice chairman for another term.
I second.
Also like to move the nomination cease.
Yeah, you hear that phone ringing, we gotta go.
We have a captive audience here.
All right, all those in favor? All right, we're done.
Greg, it's a good thing you showed up.
Yeah.
That's why you hurried. Why do you think I got here so quick?
All right, planners, communications. And just before you started, and watching that last video, I dug out my notes from October 10th, 2007. And
Why?
07, because on there, as a special item that we needed to take care of, was item 3, backlots. Does the board want to review backlot driveways should the standards be revised? And under comments, we had significant policy issues requires a lot more discussion.
Here we are.
We finally got to it. So that was 9 years? Not bad. It's like 7. We're knocking these things
Seems
off.
like yesterday,
It
doesn't it?
does, it certainly does. Just-
So I've got two
Just
things to review. One is exactly that question you just brought up about the backlots. Last month, we had the discussion about the backlot we just approved as staff review. One of the conflicts that we've identified within the ordinance is the section under stormwater phosphorus impact. In the backlot section of the ordinance, it says that basically if it's not within 600 feet, then it kind of exempts it. However, under the site plan ordinance, which all backlots fall into, you have to do the phosphorus export. So we've got a conflict. So 2 ways we can handle it. One is we can eliminate that 600-foot exemption in the backlots, or in the site plan ordinance, you have to put in there, this accepts with the exception to backlots. Either way, we gotta clean it up to make the language consistent between.
What's the
two.
engineering impact as far as advisability?
We've been using the point system that we had, and up till this one that we just did, we've never had an issue. If anything, it's helped streamline the process immensely.
Mhm.
So far
because-
away, it should be moved.
Right, I think it just makes sense to remove it. In this case, the gentleman was upset because he had to put his land into a buffer to get the stormwater treatment for the points. Now, there are other ways you can get the points with devices, infiltration trenches, and things like that. That was one that their engineers selected, and, I'd be even amenable if they wanna come back and do something else, that we'd look at that again.
Do we have any idea of why the 600-foot
Shoreline
Shoreline
zone.
dimension was
Shoreline
put?
zone.
Oh, to conform
600
zoning.
feet.
Yeah,
Anything that was in shoreline zone, they wanted to make sure.
so I don't know when somebody,
Phosphorus was
when we
contained.
took that, if somebody accidentally cut and pasted the wrong section, I don't
Mhm.
know, I don't remember, I don't recall, even though I was probably involved with that when it came through. So I guess that's the question, whatever way the board wants to go, we'll address, but we can either put the exception in the site plan, so it says that backlots don't have to do this, or we take the piece out of backlots so that it conforms with the site plan requirement, making them do it. The only thing I'll say about backlots is we have very little standards for stormwater in there, as far as we really don't make them do quantity control, because we've always figured that we do the quality control. If you take and give them the exception, we really don't have much in there under backlots to do the quantity control. And with the way they configure, it's difficult, because there usually is a long strip going across somebody else's property.
Right,
Yeah.
which then that strip would never pass.
Right, right.
So-
So that's why we end up doing the point system, because they
Right.
can use the house lot in conformance with the, or in combination with the driveway, to get the maximum points.
So it sounds like as if to really cover the bases and as logically as possible, we would make the exception in the, keep the 600-foot language in there and then make the exception in the other area.
Exactly, you can go either way, if they said it. Then the only problem is, like I said, if you do that, then we don't really have a lot of teeth for stormwater in the backlot driveway. Right? It's pretty loose.
Yeah.
My
And-
concern with that is maybe not today, but 10 years from now, as
Right.
more property gets developed, that could turn into an issue for us. I can see that.
Well,
as a
and the
problem.
concern, the only concern we had was too, is that, you know, we don't know what, like you just said, we don't know where these back lots go, because they're built to a standard, they could be upgraded very easily to a private road down the line,
Right.
and with all the back lot land that could be available, there could be 4, 5, 6 lots in the back there. You know, now you would look at it under subdivision for the stormwater rules and regs, so it kind of falls into a gray area.
So which area offers the most water protection?
The one that would, they have to follow the site plan, and we eliminate the 600-foot language of the back lot.
Back lot.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't have, you know, obviously you're not gonna make that decision tonight, that's gonna have to be
Right.
made as an amendment to the ordinance come up in the next round.
Mm-hmm.
But the other problem that we noticed with that, it wasn't really a problem, but it was just a way that we thought we could help the communication and streamline it, because people were, when they go to the back lot, they just look at the back lot provision. They don't necessarily delve into that it falls under the site plan criteria. So the thought was at the last meeting is that we put together a submissions checklist for site plans.
Mhm.
And that's what you've got before you tonight that I gave you. I understand you've just got this, so, you know, we can discuss this in the future. But the idea was to put together a checklist and give a little preamble in this as well, that this is just a reminder of the common elements we see, but ultimately it's still their responsibility to go through the ordinance and make sure they meet each section. But Chris and I tried to go through and pick out, you know, we looked at some other towns' applications, and some of them were very complicated and, you know, very formal and regal looking, and my thought was just get the information we need and we typically see. I know it's 4 pages, but, you know, it covers all the different site plans that we do, major, minor, and staff review.
And this doesn't need to be in an ordinance, it can be,
Right.
it's just a checklist that we're gonna hand out.
So it's just a
So,
tool, you guys can approve
You
at any
guys
point.
take a look at it and get back to us at the next meeting as to any comments
And the goal would be that you would have one checklist.
for all site plans,
For all site plans.
including backlots.
Yeah, but you wouldn't, I mean, you would break, so if someone comes in for a back lot, you would just give them the back. you wouldn't know
I'd
back.
go through this
We'd go-
checklist with them.
Right. Because if you look at here,
When
there's
they're,
actually a
Okay.
section.
when they're applying.
So just go through it, if you did a backlot here, you'd
Yep.
fill out this application, it would probably fall under type of land use would be residential,
Yep,
part of a subdivision.
Yes or no?
Then you'd go down through site plan classification, and you'd look at
Okay.
staff review, all backlot and backlot driveways.
Yep.
Check it off. Then you go through the site plan application, and then there's actually on page 3, road development. And you check off backlot driveway, and then you'd have to go through that whole piece of the checklist there for all those components, and it goes on to page 4,
Great.
so that they'd have.
Just
you know,
streamline it so that they're, you know how you have to flip from
yep,
the
Ordinance to
backlot driveway
ordinance.
ordinance
So this is
to
just
the
kind of like,
street
okay,
ordinance.
I've got to do this, if nothing else, even if it raises the question that they call Chris or I, that's a benefit, rather than thinking that, oh, I don't have to do this, not there.
mm-hmm,
So the staff fills this out with the applicant, or the applicant
The
fills it
applicant
out?
can fill it out, but what we do is we still
review it.
we still have a meeting with them, like a pre-application meeting, we go through this with them at the pre-application meeting, so they're aware of what they need to do.
As long as there's some control between you two, that you're sure that the applicant has in fact seen this, and he acknowledges to you that he sees it, that he has filled it out as part of the application
this would-
process.
this
And it doesn't get
this would go
accidentally
to
skipped
all-
over.
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool.
Right.
Right.
An
Right.
applicant can say, I don't want it. I mean,
Right, and it's,
You know.
and everything is still in the ordinance. We're not
Right.
taking anything out, it's just making it easy to navigate, because it tells you all the things.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because,
The
you know,
only-
when-
The only other suggestion, Chris, and I know this will probably be a real pain, is to do some reference back to the ordinance.
Yep,
So that, you know, the applicant can go, oh, okay, so what the heck does that mean
yeah,
anyway?
because you fall back to 2 sections, you really fall back to site plan standards and performance standards is what you typically
Right,
fall
right,
into.
right.
Yeah, so we could do that as well. But the other thing that the other thing that I thought was important when we did this was also when we do the site plan classification, because people don't really know sometimes what triggers
Right,
where they are, whether they're a minor site plan, whether they're staff review, so that whole criteria is in there as well. Because a lot of times what people do is they'll go to the checklist before they go to the ordinance.
One of the things I think applicants have a issue with is they come in and we say backlot driveway, they're thinking driveway. They're not thinking a designed road with a terminus and
Right.
12-foot with 2-foot shoulders, and I gotta do a grade, you know, and have an
Mhm.
engineer, and I gotta do a stormwater thing. They're thinking that word driveway implies simple, something simple, but it's really not. It's not
That's-
complicated, but
That's why I think the pre-application meeting, speaking from recent experience, is so helpful. I mean, I know where all the ordinances are, but I still got confused a little bit trying to apply, you know, all of the
and at
various
that
sections.
pre-application meeting, which we do, a lot of times it's just with me, a lot of times it's with Jim if he's available, but when they come in and I go through this, through the ordinance, that's a lot of information.
There is,
And they hear a lot of it, and a lot of it they don't, it just,
right.
right.
That's why I
But this
think
gives them a real
some
good
reference back to
roadmap.
the ordinance would be extremely helpful too. Because the information is all there.
Well,
but
we did
you're
have a
absolutely
checklist
right.
in there, and it was on the website, but it's ancient.
Yeah.
It's ancient and it doesn't get into the particulars, unfortunately, that cost money. Identifying wetlands, you know, your stormwater calculations, things like that. It kind of breezes over it real quick, where somebody thinks, oh, it's not a big deal. Until you have to go do it, and all of a sudden, I gotta hire an engineer, or I gotta hire some specialist to do this, and I gotta go hire a wetlands guy, and I gotta get a septic guy, and next thing you know, the guy's like, I thought this was $5,000, and it turns into 10.
Yeah.
You know, that's when people get angry, is when, you know.
How can we avoid some of that? I mean,
I think with the checklist.
no, from the applicant's point of view, is some of this stuff that we make them do, could it be, in other words, the design of the road that we're gonna have them do? Couldn't we just have, you know, that done as a package? And,
Well, we do, but every site's different. You gotta take into consideration the slope of the
slopes,
land.
the
You
topography,
gotta take
the
in the
soils.
topography, which way the water's running,
The type of soil.
type of soils.
Because, I mean, you got-
There's no boilerplate.
Yeah, just particular one that was kind of confusing because they had a couple different sections where the water was coming through. Unfortunately, they'd already put a culvert in, but it wasn't
Mhm.
large enough, so then the next thing was, well, how do we fix that?
And then they had a well that they
And
wanted to
want- yeah,
protect.
There's site features that makes everyone exclusive and different. I wish it was cookie cutter.
yeah, it would be nice, because I can understand that from the applicant's point of view, when they own the land,
Right.
they wanna build a house.
I mean, unfortunately, you know, a backlot is really, when you, at the end of the day, is really a minor subdivision.
Mm-hmm.
When you get
Yeah,
down,
when you
because you're
get-
putting in access and you're dividing off a lot.
Yep.
You're creating road frontage.
Right.
And that's
Right.
that was the other thing that got confusing on this one too, was from when we met with them to when we finally got the final plan, there were some changes which changed our interpretation of road frontage, the way they configured the lot. So that was another piece that kind of took some time to work through,
So then, continuing, why do we call it a backlot?
because it's behind the primary.
It has to go through a conforming lot with
Right.
proper road frontage. Has to be a right-of-way. It can't be a strip of land that's owned by the back lot.
Right.
If that's the case, you gotta do a private street. And once you get, because it's a back lot, it doesn't have any road frontage. It has no road frontage at all.
But we make them have road frontage.
We create the
Road
road
frontage.
frontage within the lot after
Right.
you get through the right-of-way.
Yeah.
That's where it gets confusing. We do count all the legs of the terminus and the end of the road, so it's not a big chunk that they have to build into the lot, but they do have to create that road to get road frontage.
And I think what we've done, 4?
Oh, more than that.
Yeah, we did more than
I think we've done half a dozen.
Yeah, and this was the first one that got difficult.
Well, we've had a number of difficult backlots. I mean, you guys, this is the first one you guys had in this process. but-
No, we've had multiple in this. Like we said,
Oh.
we've had half a dozen.
Yeah,
in this.
staff
Oh,
review.
no, this is the first difficult one you've
Right,
had.
yes.
We've had, that's why we passed them to you guys.
Love that staff review.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason it got passed down to staff was to expedite and
Yeah.
make
Yeah, I
this
was like-
less expensive for the applicants.
And
I
time.
mean,
Time.
if this had gone to the
Big time.
planning board, you'd have been a couple of meetings at minimum, maybe 3. That's 3 months process. This was started, they applied June 23rd and they were done August 10th.
Well, I think it was sooner than that. I think it was like the 5th.
Maybe it was, but it was like 5 weeks.
So so then, do we give, what additional considerations do we give them when we call it a back lot, that we wouldn't if it was just subdividing the land? The contractor came in, bought the back of the land and was gonna build.
I'm not understanding the question, I don't think.
Well,
What other
If it was a
consider?
private road?
yeah,
What's the difference between a private road and a back lot?
because we don't make them build it to
Private
private
road has to go
standards.
through the planning board process.
And with a back lot, as long as they don't apply for any waivers, it stays at staff level.
Right,
A private road absolutely has to go to you guys, and you guys can grant the waivers.
And it still has to conform to town minimum standards.
Right.
Yes.
And
I'm just, I guess I'm only approaching it from the standpoint that if I was the landowner and I had some land behind me,
and we
And I owned
discussed that
it.
with this particular applicant as well.
Sorry?
And we discussed that actual
Yeah.
point with this current landowner who
Oh.
know it. About, you may wanna make that a private road, because down the line, you may have another child or another family.
Could
Yeah.
do, so you can do 2 lots off a back lot.
Right. No, but I'm wondering if the term, I'm getting hung up on the term. I'm wondering if the term backlot signifies something that the average person doesn't understand the amount of work that's going into development. Whereas if we called it, if you came in and said, I'm gonna sell off 5 acres that's behind me, and I'm gonna sell it and someone to X builder who's gonna build a house on it, you know, there's an understanding of
I
what has to
think
go into do
I'm
that.
understanding what you're saying, and I think maybe, rather than say you do a backlot driveway application, maybe you do a backlot site plan review.
Exactly,
Because that implies more work.
right.
Yeah.
That doesn't
A
have,
backlot driveway application, maybe.
Sounds like a permit.
It
You go get
sounds like a
permit.
permit for, an. I had one gentleman that got an entrance permit on a back lot. All an entrance permit gives you is a way to get off the street into your property for
I
logging,
remember,
okay?
yes.
And this is off Heidi Way.
Yep,
And this gentleman said, oh, no, this is all approved, I got an entrance permit. And I said, no, you didn't, you got an entrance permit, but you did not get a backlot driveway approval, you have no road frontage, I can't give him a building permit.
that's not the one I was thinking of, but
But-
that's happened before.
But this doesn't go over very well. And, you know, I
like that name change.
I
that's
think
a good
the
idea.
name change might be a really positive thing for,
You know, the other, and I know this might sound simplistic, and it is, perhaps pictures, seriously, I mean, examples of what we're talking about. You know, this means you need, from here to here is the entrance permit. Now, if you're going to here, that means back. I'm trying to find a way that an applicant, we're trying to educate applicants to their responsibilities. Technically, that's not our job, but as trying to provide service to the community, we want to find ways for them to conceptually
Well,
understand.
And that's what happened in this particular application when I was dealing with the surveyors. I
Yeah.
actually had to sketch out the 2 different scenarios to show them exactly what I meant, because the road frontage question was just too confusing, because other towns, other municipalities do it differently,
Right,
and they were used to doing it a different way, and they didn't understand our interpretation until I drew it out, and it was like, oh, okay.
and we have to be careful with that because now we're designers. And you don't want to design the project for somebody. But yes, we could do a simple drawing that showed a back lot with the proper right-of-way,
right,
We
a
do.
back
the road-
lot that they own the right-of-way and they have to do a private street,
right.
and then a lot with proper road
Yeah,
frontage.
just very
Just little 3 little
simple,
drawings.
exactly,
Yeah, and
no
we've done-
topography, no, you know, doesn't resemble
Right,
anything.
I know,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
And we do give the example of the back lot turnaround already,
The terminus is in the street ordinance.
Yeah,
which is another, like you said, reference.
And we do
No one
the,
goes to the street ordinance to look for back lot information.
right.
and we do the, like Bob was asking, we do the boilerplate backlot driveway cross-section. That's in, it is in the street
That's right,
ordinance.
that is in the street
And then we have
ordinance.
the terminus in there.
Right.
So 2 of the things that we could do that's
Yep,
actually
true,
more than
it
one
is that.
terminus.
Yep.
So
But could they use that, or do we make them go out and
they use that as their guide to design their project.
do that project?
Where they're gonna locate that on their property is
They could
their
flip it one
decision.
side or the other.
Can go right, left, or,
Curve it, and there's always you can do it.
But we still eventually make them come up with a drawing, all right?
yes.
I mean,
A plan.
plan. Is that a requirement?
Yes.
I know it's our requirement, but is that a state requirement?
What's that?
That you have these plans that are drawn? And what,
Is it a state requirement?
is that hard? In other words, should they have come in with a hand-drawn?
Has to be recorded. It's a right of way.
And well, that was
Right.
the other thing we were talking about, is we require a surveyor to do the meets and bounds and to do the topo and 2-foot contours.
Mm-hmm.
So it is an engineer
And then it
plan,
comes,
a stamp plan. It's not a state requirement, it's our requirement.
Because the options you have, if you're gonna do backlot, is if you have enough road frontage, you can, if you had enough frontage, you could split 2 lots off and divide your lot. If you
And
have
not-
enough road frontage. If you don't, then your options are backlot driveway or private road.
We're not unique, other towns are going through the same growing pains.
oh, no, it's not,
With
yeah,
backlots.
it's just nice
And I
to feel.
think overall, it's been what we've experienced. It was not like what you experienced. We've had good luck except for the last one.
Oh, no, we've had a number of backlots that have gone through, but we've had a couple that have been very, not fun.
So what I'll do is I
Alright.
will go through it, read through it. If you see other things you want, we can discuss it, continue this at the next meeting. We're not in any pressing need, as this is a tool, so it doesn't need to go through town vote or anything like that. It's basically the board's tool, but once you feel comfortable with it, it would be good to make a motion, accept it, and we'll
Yep.
implement
And
that.
then when we do the ordinance revisions that we get to in the fall, we'll start talking about the backlot
Yes.
definition of what we're gonna call it, whether it's a site plan application or whatever.
Now, the other question I have is, this takes care of site plan. Do we want to go through a similar, it hasn't been prevalent in extreme cases yet, but do we want to start thinking about doing the same thing for subdivisions, minor and major?
You know,
A
there I don't
checklist
think,
like this?
Yeah.
you know, I think that would be just kind of a waste of time, because, I mean, that's gonna have to get designed. Everyone, I mean, no one would come in expecting to be able to do their own subdivision. Whereas,
Well,
No,
it's
it's
just
just
a
a
good
checklist.
educational tool for us too, because
Oh, that's
I've
true.
been doing this for, what, I don't know, 8, 10 years now, and I still, yeah,
yeah,
it's like follow the bouncing ball. It's,
Right.
it's confusing.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
I mean, it wouldn't take, and this didn't take very long to pull this together.
Oh,
We
all
could,
right.
we could do it, just, again, it's just so, again, it's a tool for somebody who does come in there, because I think we're at that point here in Raymond where we're gonna start seeing some
Mhm.
subdivisions start rolling forward again.
We've already
as the
had some
economy-
discussion with several
And a lot of them,
developers.
what we're seeing, a lot of them are the ones that died, now coming back with changes that get, you do this.
Just
things
a
that-
real minor point, Jim, you might want to make a note that when you finalize this, just put the version date on it somewhere,
Yeah.
so we can kind of track, future changes.
No, I appreciate the work. I know it's an added on top, but I think it will help.
Well, it's helpful to us, it's helpful to everybody, tool's a tool.
Yeah.
It's not just helpful to the applicant, but it helps us when we're talking with them, so that we don't forget something, because
Yes.
it's very easy to overlook something and then go, oh, well, you also gotta do that. And sets them off too.
Yes. I know.
You're not doing it on purpose, like you said, there's just there's street ordinance, site plan ordinance, backlot, performance standards, there's a lot of places that this stuff is hidden. And then if you have something in the shoreline zone, throw that on top of it too.
all right. So one
Very
other
good.
question before we go. Chris, it's something that you asked, I guess, to the board, whether you told me, that raised a question, is there's subdivisions that have been approved, and I always thought that there was a time limit on those subdivision approvals.
The only thing I think that comes up with those, and I'll let Chris can answer the other piece of that, is if they're recorded, once they're recorded, they're a subdivision of record.
They have 60 days to
The
record.
only thing that changes is
Oh,
if
that's the time limit I was
Yeah.
thinking of, okay.
if something changes in our ordinances though, as far as the street design or something like that,
Yeah,
you could make them come back and implement that into their street, because they hadn't started construction. But you don't necessarily can change the lots.
so, I think we might want to get out in front and somehow maybe on our website there, and the planning board's website, list what approved subdivisions. Because I know the one that you and I talked about, that was really contentious when it went up and was
The one you just
approved.
showed with me.
And now when it starts, and that was like 10 years ago, I think, if I remember correctly.
Oh, no, 8, 9?
8 years ago, 9 years ago?
Which one? Are you talking about Tenny Hill or?
No,
No,
that's one.
well,
No,
Tenny Hill is one.
The other one.
Then the other one
was
is on
condos, right?
Valley View.
Yeah.
That
No.
one, really, that one.
That one
mine
was
kinda head
condominiums
scratched
and
a
it was
little bit.
elderly.
I think that was at least 10 years ago.
Now,
I
Mike,
think so too. I think it was 2004.
Yeah, so, I mean, I can see.
did we find if that elderly housing is even applicable now?
Well, no, I was talking to Chris about that. That way, back then, the board, through the comprehensive plan, was trying to steer low income and senior housing,
So the
And-
density got less.
and they were giving them density breaks on it. So the question then, and I don't remember the answer because it was a long time ago, but the question that I was telling Chris is that, how do you define elderly housing? And once, let's say it's 55, so you can go in and buy an elderly condo because you're over 55, but then you have to sell it to somebody over 55? And is that something the planning board could say in the deed? And I don't know how that ever worked out. I know something
It
happened.
is, because I know that Wyndham had that same issue, and it goes right into their homeowners agreement.
Right.
Yeah,
It
so
gets
maybe
fully
that's how it
enforced.
happened.
And it's all about how they get financing and funding too.
But I would think that if some of these developments, and I think the one on 302 is another one is that ever started?
No, was vacated.
That was vacated, okay.
Jimmy Cummings?
Yeah. So that,
But that
I
does,
would think you're gonna get that,
those are gonna be those senior type housing are gonna be really problematic, because when they come through, especially like with that one, where they could be revisions.
well, revisions will bring it back to us,
Right.
but if it's no revisions, I think I think we could be out in front of some of the questions that we're gonna get, the town will get, as to why they're building this particular development now and how to get approved.
So what are you asking that we put on the website?
Our list of approved subdivisions
That weren't.
that were
complete.
not, that have yet to be started,
Just as an
just as an information, or we could list all subdivisions as information. I don't know if we can legally do that, but I would think we could,
I'll speak to legal before I do that.
yeah.
Well, it might be
Yeah, I'm thinking-
worthwhile, I was speaking to them too, how do we handle the issue with the elderly density now that we don't have that?
Yeah, I can speak
Right.
to the town
Well-
attorneys about that.
Yep. Well, if they don't come back to us, then it's
It must
an
be-
approved subdivision the way it is,
Like a grandfather.
right?
of this sort.
Was it a year they have before they have to start construction after it's approved?
No, there's no,
See, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
there is.
there's no sunset.
Yeah,
Really?
but the building
I thought
permit,
there was a sunset.
but the
Yeah.
building.
And we might
permit-
wanna talk about that. Let me talk to Shauna and,
Well, I don't think you can go back,
No,
No,
but going
but-
forward.
but
but
going
going
forward.
forward, maybe you wanna,
It's kind of funny because when times are good, you want the sunset provision. When times are bad, why do we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do we make
Now
all
they
that
can't build
difficult?
it, yeah, that's right.
But, no, it's interesting because if you had a building permit, you have
you have a year,
so, and
to
a
start.
bond, and a bond is very
and
similar.
you can renew it for another year.
Right.
But we don't have that verbiage for a
Five
subdivision.
subdivisions.
And maybe there's a reason for that, like, maybe the town attorney would have some insight on that.
Well, it gets kind of, messy with state law too, as far as a recorded plan too.
Mm-hmm. But I think it's public record, the recorded plan is public record, so there shouldn't be any reason why we couldn't put
Probably
it on the
isn't.
website.
And that may have been one of the discussions in years past when we had construction were booming and we wanted to try to slow things down. It sounded like a good idea to have a sunset provision. And when the economy went south, we wanted more houses built, like you said.
Well, that's another question, growth again, the comp plan. I don't know if you had any more conversations with that.
I'll bring that up. You have to invite Pat Caver, if you bring that up.
I move we adjourn.
What about the other planning board member that was potentially gonna be?
There is.
Oh,
There he is.
He needs to go to a selectmen's meeting to get
Oh, okay.
I missed the
officially.
meetings up. I
Oh.
thought tonight was selectmen, so I showed up and
Yep.
realized that I'd made a mistake.
Have they given you a check mark yet?
No, not that I know of. I spoke
No,
to
he has
No,
to-
he has to show up in
He has
person.
to show up and
And the meeting was last night and he thought it was
be
tonight.
kind of appointed and so on and on.
So,
So I'm for sure gonna catch the next one, make sure that doesn't happen again. Not the way I wanted to start with, but.
hey,
yeah.
I have trouble remembering when to show up.
Oh, I don't, I'm always on
Not yet.
All right, there's been a motion to adjourn, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Done.